We are still here at the Super Brand Mall, where the LPL Arena is located in Shanghai for our second match today. It's going to be RNG taking on Rogue Warriors. This is our match of the week, and it's a second and third place match in the Eastern Conference. Joining us again is going to be Rusty. Indiana is still with us here today. Rusty, going into this next match of the week.
Yeah.
This is a big match for RNG because a win here would secure them their playoff spot.
Yes, it absolutely would. RNG want to get that victory. It doesn't mean that it's not a big deal for Rogue Warriors, of course, on the opposite side. And that's the exciting thing. It's one of our few remaining matches that is a battle of the top teams in our league.
And it's also the fact that they're both trying to bounce back. Recently, RNG and Rogue Warriors have had very rough losses, have very rough previous series. And so it's who's going to grab form right before playoffs and use this as a swing for momentum.
Yeah, because both these two teams haven't had the best form recently, especially in their last 5 games, especially with Rogue Warriors dropping matches like against Sunny. And we've already mentioned that now, although they secured their second place spot, it's important to have that form moving into playoffs.
Yeah, it definitely is. Rogue Warriors' recent form can definitely be brought into question. And I was looking at it personally. I was like, okay, they're going to lose to IAG. That's expected. Maybe they cause an upset. Maybe a stir happens and they do get the win. But they lost before that. They actually lost 0-2 to Suning Gaming. I think that was really what threw the spanner in the works for them. I know that, sure, they've acknowledged maybe that they're underperforming, but no one expected that result, and that could have been a real unfortunate circumstance for them.
And then it's understanding why. We talk about how Suning are effectively baby Invictus Gaming, that they just don't have the talent ceiling or the experience, but they have a very quick and similar play style, and it seems like Rogue Warriors have this blueprint set up where if you just blitz them in the bottom lane, you can crack that team.
Yeah, exactly right. If you go bottom lane, SMLZ is meant to be the hard carry. It's meant to be where Doinby goes with Flawless, right? If you're able to go down there and impact that lane, stop it from snowballing in the first place, then there's nothing really that they're able to do.
And that's what happened in both matches between Invictus Gaming as well as for Suning in their last sets. For the side of RNG, things haven't been looking too good for them either recently. Their recent losses to teams like LGD have not been good for them.
To be fair, LG are on the high right there, but RNG, they have kind of a variety bucket of problems right now. Inconsistency in individual performances is definitely on kind of the front center, which is why they have a rotating roster between Karsa, MLXG, between Letme and Zatai. Specifically, the top lane for me is really a focus point. Zatai and Letme, they have slightly different champion pools, but neither of them are really plugged into the cohesion of the team, and that really starts to showcase come mid-game, come late game, when your tank or your bruiser or whoever it is really needs to be zoning for someone like Uzi and Xiaohu, and it's just not coming together.
Yeah, and that's not been coming together recently for RNG. Let's see if they can against Rogue Warriors, who are fielding Mouse, Flawless, Doinby, as well as SMLZ and Kahlua as their starting 5 up against RNG.
And then it's Zatai, Karsa, Xiaohu, Uzi, and Ming. And this has kind of been the starting 5 roster that when push comes to shove, when it's a big game and it matters, it's Zatai and Karsa that are leading the charge.
And I will say that in their last set they played against Invictus Gaming, where there was really no expectations of them getting the victory, Karsa still looked good. So in those big game moments against those good teams, I think Karsa was actually still playing fantastically. And there were certain members on RNG besides him that still looked decent. You know, Uzi when he wants to carry, when he gets the champion to carry, still had a good showing. But it is that top lane to bring it back as well, I think, where the cohesion may be missing. And I don't blame Zatai because he is brand new to the team. Whilst he's a veteran player, I do still have reasons to blame Letme for that, though.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I agree with you. If you look at the individual pieces of RNG, like Xiao, who's still playing really well, Karsa's exciting, Zatai has the Swain unlocked to him, he can go towards the Trundle, and then you have Uzi, who's probably having the best split of his career. So why isn't this working? And it's because of the inability to plug and play. Like, Karsa's not really working with the top side, Karsa's definitely not working with the mid lane, but again, in his individual performance, he's still fine.
And Uzi has been looking good this split. He has in all the splits he's played in the LPL so far. We criticize Rogue Warriors' bottom lane synergy and how they've been losing the bottom lane against their recent matches. But for the side of Uzi, we have questions towards his champion pool as well, because he has picked up Xayah recently, only played a single game on the champion, but has not been looking good with him. We haven't seen the Xayah Rakan lane come out from RNG either.
I've seen it once.
And he lost.
Ever. Yeah. The first time Exactly. The first time that it came out, the duo lane, super exciting. You know, it's currently the most played, as you mentioned, of course, in the LPL. But before that, at Worlds, when it was played all the time, you still don't see it from Uzi. It's never existed. And I admire that he's played it once. I like that he tried it. But you don't try it in a set where you could lose, and they did lose with it. That duo needs to exist for Uzi if they want to stay at the top.
It means that constantly RNG in their draft phases aren't getting pushing priority in their bot lane. And again, if you're Karsa, who's performing well, but you don't have pushing lanes, what are you supposed to do for your team?
Well, the bottom lane is definitely going to be a place that we watch during this matchup between RNG as well as Rogue Warriors. Before we get into the first match and send over to our casters, let's hear from Xiaohu.
我觉得 RW 就是一个比较保 AD 的队伍吧，但是比起保 AD， 我觉得我们 在那方面做的也并不比他们差吧。我觉得我们的 AD 是优在，所以不虚他们。
Xiaohu talking about the linchpin of their strategy, talking about the bottom lane, but I feel like that's going to be Rogue Warriors' matchup as well, what they're looking for in this game. My name's Pulse, and with Clement for this
Hello?
one. How you doing, Clement?
I'm doing fine, but I'm looking over at a RNG roster, and their cams look incredibly gloom. This is a team that really does play off of the energy they provide in the early game and in the mid game, and it's a little bit concerning to see them a bit deflated across the board.
They definitely look like that even after their loss after LGD the other day as well, when they lost that set, and it feels like it's just on a downward trend currently for RNG, and they need to pick it up because right now they're facing the stiffest competition until the end of the split now against Rogue Warriors. As we get into picks and bans, will be Olaf, Karzik, and John just get us caught up on these ones from RNG, and Varus, Caitlyn, and Tam Kench will be the bans from Rogue Warriors here.
The first thing we do have to note is that RNG decided to pick red side themselves. They're unlike any other team in that they usually pick for their bot lane in the last rotation. Now, however, we do see that on the red side, teams usually will choose to ban away the Xayah. They have actually let it through. This is the biggest difference between SMLZ and Uzi. SMLZ can play the Xayah in Rakan, and he has done it multiple times.
We've got multiple power picks coming through here. The Xayah is the first pick you were just talking about. Swain managed to get through picks and bans. That goes over to Rogue Warriors, and we have a Trundle lock-in as well.
This is really exciting because this could be one of our first Trundle jungles. We've seen a lot of it in the LCS so far. It has a great duo synergy with the Swain in the mid lane just because of the Swain passive, where you can pull someone back with the Trundle pillar.
Meanwhile, on RNG's side, they prioritize the Zac. They take away the Rakan as well, so they also disrupt the Lovers duo, also giving that one to Ming. And then in the mid lane, we'll have Galio for Xiaohu.
We're looking at an RNG composition with tons of engage. They can instantly blow up SMLZ. They definitely know that Rogue Warriors is going to try and protect their AD carry, and they're running a composition directly into it.
RNG look to take away some of the defensive options in terms of support. Alistair gets taken away here, back towards Rogue Warriors, looking to hit RNG as well. Maybe try and hit some of the laning strength, because that is definitely what RNG will be looking towards in this game.
I would expect the Braum to be taken off the table as well. The big two champions for Kahlua this split have been the Tahm Kench and also the Braum. So we should look for that champion being taken away from Kahlua.
Rogue Warriors just trying to defang Zatai in the top lane and take away the Gnar pickup right here. Back up to RNG for their final ban. Wouldn't be surprised, as you said, if it's just another support towards Kahlua here, trying to disrupt that bottom lane, and the Morgana gets taken away.
Makes sense here. Morgana is a very strong protective pick as well, even though that Kahlua hasn't really shown the pick so far. It is a really good preemptive ban, but that does give Braum over to our pretty much our best mechanical support in the LPL so far, to Kahlua.
To Rogue Warriors to also take away the Gangplank, again hitting Zatai in the top lane. You see Stake behind the team right now for Rogue Warriors, helping the team out with these picks and bans. RNG back over to them here for their next pickup.
They could go for the Ezreal here. They're still missing a marksman for Uzi. He does have a very special pull. A lot of Varus, a lot of Kog'Maw, a lot of Ezreal as well. But going for the Tristana, I like this pick because it requires less protection from the team. If you look at all of the members that are going forward, there's not going to be a lot of people around Uzi. So picking something that can peel for himself is very important.
Back towards Rogue Warriors now. Seeing to lock in that support. Braum is still open for them if they want it. We'll be both on this rotation. Look towards the Vladimir. Actually, we'll lock that one in. We'll see if that goes towards Doinby or Mouse in this one. And Rogue Warriors looking towards their support now.
Rogue Warriors is still threatening with a flex pick right here. We haven't seen the Swain from Doinby, but all signs do suggest that these can be swapped around.
It will be the Braum in the end as well, so you've got that protection coming in from Rogue Warriors, but it's also interesting to see that Rogue Warriors are trying to diversify as well, instead of just constantly picking like the Karmas in the mid lanes, always going for the shield comps onto SMLZ, also putting some power back towards those solo laners.
I do think this is going to be the first time we see the Swain in the middle lane. It does have much more of a better synergy with the Trundle. It's one of the few combinations that you can actually gank other mid laners. So let's see if they do swap that way.
Yeah, and we had a Camille on the other side for RNG. That will round out their composition. I'll go into the top lane here, though he still doesn't know what his lane opponent is. With the team to have up until 20 seconds to look towards their swaps, but I believe we're probably done for now. So Doinby most likely going to be picking up the Vladimir here with the Swain in the top lane.
All right, so they're still not going to do the swap. Instead, going to send Mouse in Swain to the top lane. Now this is an interesting matchup because for the Camille, if left alone, naturally Swain will outscale and kind of win that lane. But if you throw in jungle ganks early, you can turn the favor into Camille and make her into a split push threat.
Just trying to put power into the top lane here for Satai as well, taking away from those tanks. So it seems like both teams actually moving slightly away from what they usually like to pick and actually putting power towards the top side of the map, not just all in the bottom lane, because we've seen teams definitely fall prey to that, putting all of their power into the bottom, and if the bottom lane falls behind, then they just end up losing the game by 15 minutes.
Yeah, I really do like this composition from Rogue Warriors right here because they are diversifying their options. It's not all the damage onto SMLZ. We've said this about Rogue Warriors. A lot of times when they're running a Protect 4 Protect 1 composition, they lack damage in the mid game, but that's not the case for this composition. They have the double AP, and it's very diversified in terms of their damage options. They have 3 people that can output. They're not afraid of RNG shutting one option down.
Not RNG side as well, they look towards the priority Zac here, and we know that RNG, their style is really to hit you hard and hit you fast in the early game. They try and just brute force and overwhelm you with star talent, as typically what RNG have tried to do so far in the split, and it makes sense when you have names like Karsa, Xiaohu, and Uzi all on the same team. So they're going to try it again in this game and see if Zac can really get onto the field here. As we are opening up, you can see the crowd is absolutely packed here for our match of the week, Rogue Warriors versus RNG. We'll see which team can ascend to the throne. We're talking about ascending to the throne here, but I feel like this is a very important match for SMLZ as well. You can see a bunch of people super excited to see Uzi and SMLZ in this one. So a bunch of fan signs coming in for SMLZ, but you know, he's been waiting in the wings for a while. You know, he's slowly been taking names, but he's up against, I think, one of the names he really wants to be taken down.
Oh yeah, if you're talking about lineage, SMLZ is the direct heir to Uzi. When he was still on Royal's 3rd team, he wouldn't take salary. He just wanted to be there and watch Uzi play, learn from his laning phase. And today, both of them are at the top of the laning phase rankings. Uzi, at 15 minutes, he's usually up 20 CS, and SMLZ, at 15 minutes, he's up 18.
I mean, one of them has to be behind unless they just go directly equal. So both of those stats can't be true in this game. As we see the time moving towards the top lane here, just seeing where Flawless might be starting. He is on this Trundle. We haven't seen so much of it in the LPL, as you said. We've seen it internationally, but really the LPL has been slow on the uptake. As we look at some of the summoners, it will be press the attack on that Trundle.
Yep, internationally, they are playing more on 8.6 patch, but there is no reason why Trundle should not work in patch 8.5. A lot of times, people do pick it because it's a very good counter against the Olaf. The ultimate from Trundle only takes the starting point for defenses. So basically, if you put the ultimate onto Olaf, he can't use his own Ragnarok, or else he's going to actually have negative defenses.
Yeah, preemptive pick coming in here very early on in the rotation from Rogue Warriors. Karsa will just be clearing the top side of his jungle, moving towards the bottom side. You can see the full ruins actually coming in for Flawless right here. We'll be going Sorcery second, putting points into Transcendence and Ultimate Hat.
Yep, Ultimate Hat is a bit of a rare one right there. Usually we do see things like Water Walking to help out the clear, but the only reason I would see that being taken is they expect a lot of teamfights from RNG happening very frequently.
Well, it's just being annoying here, spotting out Karsa in the jungle now, looking towards the mid lane, putting a bit of pressure down onto Xiaohu, just saying hi as he moves towards the bottom side of the map now, but he knows he has the inner track as he pushed Karsa away.
He is taking control and is looking to 3-buff Karsa right here. Karsa's actually being called out on his jungle pathing because he started a very greedy SOFM start, starting on the Wolves and going towards his top side. With doing this, however, Flawless is going to take away his entire bottom.
Oh man, getting triple buffed right here. And Karsa actually looked towards the top lane. He was maybe looking for a gank, but the communication was there from Flawless Mouse. Just back away. You don't need to be pushed up in lane. Denies the opportunity for Karsa to get the gank down, and now he's just going to be behind in the jungle.
This is a massive mind game victory from Rogue Warriors right here. Trundle is one of those picks that no one can really bully him out. There is no single champion that can duel him. He takes away your attack damage, and early on, that's just such a powerful skill. We can see Flawless here using that advantage to the maximum, and also Karsa starting to scratch his head 4 minutes in the game.
because he has to try and figure out options right now. He's got top crap to move towards, and maybe he can look for an invade right here because Flawless is going back to base. There is a small window in which he might be able to pick up Grump or Merc Walls, but he's going into essentially dark areas, fog of war. Just have the Scry's Bloom though.
Yep, he is falling one camp behind, but one of those is a buff, so that is actually going to cut into his clearing speed as well. And they're going to meet in the top side of the jungle. So far, Flawless has been outplaying Karsa incredibly hard.
You're about to clash as Zatai is also pushed up in lane, so we'll be able to react to this one using that hook shot. Karsa just jumping over the wall and denied by the pillar. Flawless may force out the flash here, and Karsa has to use it, squeeze it up against the edge of the wall there.
I'm sorry, Karsa, you might be third on Raz's list, but the #1 jungler on that list is Flawless. Reading Karsa like a book, punishing him for his early play, and also reading that he would try to equalize on the top side. Great play coming out from Flawless right here. And what this does, it means that Mouse is going to have a very easy laning phase. He doesn't need to worry about the Camille Zac ganks.
And he just put the pressure down onto Camille like he's doing right now. That's a tower shot coming in there as well. And Zatai just took a bunch of chunk damage in the top lane. And Mouse, as you said, doesn't have a care in the world now, can just play to his heart's content.
There's a lot of pressure being thrown onto RNG right there. We could see in the player cams, Zatai already licking his lips, looking a bit nervous right here. His jungle is not in a good position, and he's not going to have any help. Basically, Rogue Warriors has avoided their biggest weakness in their sort of weak early mid game, and they completely flipped the script with Flawless's play.
I mean, this is especially important because they are facing down RNG, a team really renowned for their laning power. The fact that they can just have multiple threats and try and beat you down in the laning phase before getting to those team fights. Because honestly, that's where they start to fall apart against some teams who are specialized in team fighting.
Yeah, we've definitely seen this from RNG. Sometimes their ban picks don't give them a lot of strong lanes. And when those lanes fall behind, RNG is not good at recovering or playing around those losing lanes right now. They're being forced into a very precarious situation.
They're being pushed up in the bottom lane as well. SMLZ and Kahlua just shoving the waves in constantly in this bottom lane. There's still playmaking potential though. We are looking towards those level 6 marks for pretty much everyone on RNG will have impactful ultimates to bring in there. So we're going to be the waiting game for now.
The main advantage we do have to point out for RNG's composition is that they have very, very good engage range. They're pretty much the ones that are going to set which fights are going to be taken on the map. If you look at Zac, you look at Galio, and you look at Rakan, all of the fights on the map should be started by RNG. They should be the initiators. So even if they fall behind early, if they can pick the right fights, they can still have a chance to get back into it.
Karsa just roaming his jungle right now, nothing on the top side. A lot of communication go down in the top lane as well. Just telling Karsa where the wards are, where he can and can't gank from. Flawless though will take the opportunity to move towards this Grump and take this one away. And he also has that pushing up mid lane, so Doinby will be the first one to rotate, even if there was a bot lane contest. But the fact that Rogue Warriors are essentially pushing in mid and bot, maybe not top lane, it gives free reign for Flawless to do what he wants.
Yeah, Flawless not even caring that his frozen domain was going to get spotted out by the minion wave there. He's basically telling where his position is to RNG, but he doesn't care. He's on Trundle. He's that strong. And he also got the Gromp timer, so we're going to repeatedly see this over and over again. I don't think Karsa is going to touch any of these Gromps in the next 5 minutes.
Of course, that means his focus now will probably be looking towards those ganks. With hit level 7 in both the solo laners, bot lane will be hitting level 6 shortly as well, so there is an opportunity for him to try and catch up in this lane. For now, though, we're looking for the junglers just to pick up some of their buffs, which are respawning. First dragon of the game is also Mountain, so do expect bottom line focus, not just because the 2 AD carries, Uzi and SMLZ, crucial to the composition, but also because the dragon's there.
Yep, Mountain Drake is still a very high priority for everyone. It's kind of interesting because the Ocean Drake, I would say, has slid down now pretty much to the bottom. The Cloud Drake actually helps you in combat, so a lot of teams, the priority for the Drakes has changed a little bit, and a great interrupt from SMLZ. This is going to give him a big CS advantage.
He won't get back to base. He's got a lot of farm to spend. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, catching out Doinby, and he is just completely obliterated before he can pull.
Oh, that was such a good read from RNG. They knew that Trundle was already at the blue buff, and they set that trap specifically for Doinby. Doinby not able to get a single summoner off before falling.
And because of that, that's just going to be a leash here for Karsa, unless Flawless can just step up and smite this one away. And he just walks up and smites this one away. Okay.
Oh man, do you have a death note on your hand, Pulse? Because that was
apparently
that
I
was
just
some
wrote the
Nostradamus
future.
prediction.
Yeah. Well, Carson didn't have Smite on that one, and the rest of the team just walked back to their lanes with numbers advantage. So of course, Flawless is just going to walk in there and press the Smite button.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for RNG right there. I would still say they come out ahead overall in the trade. They do have that first blood going to the Zac.
And just in the top lane, Demonic Ascension being used. Camille's actually opening up a bit of a CS advantage in the top lane, but we can actually see how Joinby ended up getting caught here.
3-man, all 3 of the engaged tools used on Joinby, doesn't get a single chance, basically dies before he hits the ground. Great setup play from RNG, reading where Joinby was going to roam to, and I do have to criticize that. That was a bit careless from Joinby, walking into dark spaces on the map.
Feeling maybe a little bit too comfortable because of where Flawless has been able to tread himself, but has gone ahead and picked up the early Proto Belt even before Boost right here had just enough gold to do so. So he's not fallen drastically far behind. In fact, he is still ahead in farm compared to Xiaohu. Just taking a look at Karsa here, he is looking to try and sneak into this top lane.
Trying to get that Camille ahead. With the Camille pick, you really want her to become a split pusher. That way she can also enter the team fight earlier as well. So it's really important that you get the Camille pick rolling early on. And they've already set this up pretty well. They have the control board and he's going in.
And Mouse immediately walks up to the minion wave, instant flashes away from Karsa as soon as he sees him. And Karsa might actually stick around just for a little bit before recalling.
They do have that pressure with mid-priority with the Galio. We see Xiaohu already slanting over towards the left side. But nothing's going to come in it. Yep.
Yeah, not in the end, but the flash is down, so repeat gang could be on the horizon. You can see Camille's already opened up around a 400 gold lead just from the CS advantage in the top lane. Mid lane, Vladimir still ahead despite that death over Ganio because of the harass he's putting down. And bot lane, the smallest of advantages over to SMLZ as well.
Yep, Rakan, in terms of laning, is a pretty weak champion without his partner in the Xayah. So they chose a takeaway, and like the picks would suggest, they are losing lane a little bit, but that's still fine. I feel Tristana, even though she has a hard laning phase against the Xayah, late game she does outscale. She has more range, even on the nerfed 8.5 patch.
There is late game insurance for RNG, definitely important, but we've seen that when RNG are playing towards more of the late game, that's been a lot of their downfall, you know, recently dropping games against teams like LGD. That's really been what happened, you know, and there was some experimentation coming in there from RNG. We even saw the Vayne come out from Uzi, and in fact, that was actually a game where he just destroyed and ended up winning, but it was the Xayah and the meta picks that ended up falling short.
Yeah, we do see a lot of the flaws from RNG. They're a team that has a very haphazard attitude towards the team fights. They often lose to teams that have better setup for fights, but are weaker overall as mechanical players. And that's a big sign of weakness for RNG. A lot of times they're not thinking through how they want to approach the fight, especially with picks like Xayah that actually need a lot of protection. RNG is the team that's running towards people, and Xayah wants to be the team where she intercepts people running towards her, and that's the problem with Uzi Xayah so far.
It absolutely is the brute force approach from RNG, just outplay by being better than your opponents. But if that doesn't work, then your one card that you want to play is no longer on the docket. Here comes Karsa into the top lane, lands a knockup. There's no flash coming from Mouse, and the combo out from Xiaohu. There is absolutely no escape for Mouse.
Picking up Mouse here, knows he doesn't have the flash, and transitioning the mid priority perfectly towards the top lane. Camille is always going to be a win condition if you have her on your team, and they're trying to set it up for Zatai. This is also why they probably chose to play Zatai over Let Me. I would still rank Zatai's laning ability above that of Let Me, and they're trying to cash that advantage in over someone like Mouse.
Currently it's working, got that kill advantage in the top lane, and it's going to be a lot of chunk damage coming in from Zatai as well. Rogue Warriors will try and respond on the bottom side by grouping up, looking towards this first dragon of the game, but it's an exchange for so much damage on that tower. May even go down in this push from Zatai. Mouse doesn't have teleport to respond.
Yep, and no answer coming out from Rogue Warriors right here. Rogue Warriors are a team that focuses very, very heavily on the bot lane. They don't usually help Mouse out when he is fallen behind. They take it as a given and kind of say, hey Mouse, just take the pressure and try to do as best as you can. We're going to try to win the bot lane. So Rogue Warriors, like traditional fashion, they're giving up everything on the top side and trying to find answers in the bottom.
Yeah, Mouse often finds himself the sacrifice in the top lane. but this is actually a pretty hefty advantage now. A 40 CS difference to Zatai, plus first gold turret is going to be at least 1,000 gold as Ming is walking into this bush. He's going to spot Flawless right here, gets knocked back, but of course just dashes to his AD carry.
Yep, Ming with the E still has 550 range on that. He's not with the Xayah, so isn't going to get the 11,000 range, but it's still enough to let him avoid these ganks here.
RNG starting to trade up now as well as the Rift Herald was also picked up by Karsa while Rogue Warriors were looking to the bottom side. And this is what RNG do well. You know, if they hit hard and hit fast in the early game, even though there are a couple missteps and opportunities to be exploited, they can snowball this power into a very early win.
And their bot lane is still doing fine. They're only 6 CS behind despite being a Xayah versus Tristana matchup. So even though they're winning big on the on the top side, they're not giving anything up on the bottom either.
You can see Xiaohu and Karsa actually just grouping up here in that 2v1. Doinbi has to move back towards the mid lane right here, just trying to gain control, gain some passages into the bottom lane here and just hide themselves in that fog of war. For Karsa will go back towards his jungle now. He's currently 2-0-0, so has definitely caught up after that early game that Flawless was putting down onto him. Has picked up the Cinderhawk already, and also has the Ninja Tabbies.
And the map is really being opened up for RNG. With their engage ranges, this is incredibly dangerous. What they can do is they can move Zatai towards the mid lane and then send Galio towards the bot lane. They can counteract any pressure being set up by Flawless right there and basically stifle the entire map up. The game plan has really changed for RNG. They can now go into a more late game 4-1 composition, which is the way Suning defeated Rogue Warriors.
That's true. Suning Gaming, of course, very good in the early game as well. Really strong around that 15-minute mark. And Rogue Warriors will be looking towards those team fights. That is pretty much what they have been renowned for. It's pretty much a hodgepodge roster that's been thrown together this split, but worked remarkably well. Currently second in the Western, or rather the Eastern Conference. And to be honest, East looks way stronger than the West right now. And you could definitively say before this match that they were the second strongest team here. But RNG, they want to climb back up. They want to get back up there.
Yeah, and we do have to touch on the story with RNG. So far, it's really hard to put them on the same level as Rogue Warriors and Invictus Gaming. They're actually 3-7 in their own conference. Most of their wins have come from beating up on the West. In terms of the Eastern Conference, Rogue Warriors isn't even that good of a team. They shouldn't even be in playoffs if you're just looking at that conference alone. So this is their chance to make a stand and show that they're one of the elites.
Yeah, of course, you meant RNG right there, not Rogue
Warriors.
Yeah,
RNG, sorry.
RNG. Yeah, definitely found some struggles in this split. Okay. And this is the Spring Split as well, so we had Chinese New Year, and we're giving a lot of leeway to RNG, saying, well, we saw this last year. Generally, when they come back after New Year, they'll look revamped, and that was true for a good couple of weeks. But once we got into cross-conference, oh, rather, back out of cross-conference, yeah, we start to see the struggles there then from RNG, moving towards the end of the split. But Rogue Warriors, for now, still very strong, only really behind IG, who have dominated everyone in the league, so definitely playing second fiddle to them, but strong performance.
We're seeing a collapse from RNG here, already getting the Herald down, and Galio is setting up for a pick as well.
Ty finding Mouse in the jungle, gonna take him down to around half, get a bit of healing back there, Mouse. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, there's the Herald being set up, but not a full committal really here from RNG. That's going to get that charge off from the Herald and knock the tower low, but it won't be going down. RNG still grouped up, are looking towards the bottom lane now, just turning into those two-man groups now, and Zatai is still pushing up the top lane.
Oh, and they're setting up another trap for Doinbi.
Doinbi caught here, but he will have time to go into that Sanguine pool. Here comes Flawless, gets the knock-up right down to Xiaohu. The Hemo play is going to be big. The kidnap onto Flawless as well, plus the teleport, trying to close it around him, but it's interrupted in the top lane. In fact, both teleports get stopped out there.
Yep, nobody wants to fully commit to the fight. The teleport position for RNG right there wasn't very good. Braum would have been able to cut him off, so Zatai actually cancels the teleport before Mouse does.
They were both cancels though, so they will have their teleports back up at around the same time as each other. Xiaohu just uses teleport going back to mid lane, so that will be on cooldown. And we've got the duo from Doinbi and Flawless moving up river. They're just split off though, as Flawless is now looking towards the bottom lane. For the first time, I feel like RNG have been pushing up, and this is the first time that Flawless has an opportunity to gank. Flash forward, misses the Winter's Bite. That's going to defuse the situation.
Oh, that was an execution fail from Kahlua. What he wanted to do was flash during the cast time of the Q, and you can actually extend the Winter Bite range. He actually failed on that execution, and Uzi gets away scotch-free.
Yeah, mechanical misstep, unfortunately, from Kahlua. Pretty rare, honestly, in the bottom lane. Generally have been on top of their game. Doinby in the mid lane, gone into Sanguine Pool. Has some time to proto belt as well to safety behind his tower. But Xiaohu and Zatai looking to put the damage down here. And Mouse very slow to respond. So it should be the mid lane tower dropping to RNG.
And RNG are showing another big weakness of Rogue Warriors right here. They traditionally don't have an answer to any split push compositions. And props to Zatai. Zatai's probably the only top laner besides Jinnu to really exploit Mouse to this level. We haven't seen Mouse really fall down to any top laner, not even to the Shy. But Zatai has managed to do it with the help of Karsa.
Yeah, Mouse is almost like the ultimate bullet sponge. You know, you put him in the top lane and he'll pretty much tank any top lane you throw at him, even though the top lane pool in the LPL right now is exceptionally strong when you have names like the Shy running around who's just styling on people. But yeah, for sure, this is one of the first times we're actually seeing that be opened up in the top lane. And that's also in part thanks to Karsa, who was able to get those ganks down.
Yeah, if you've only been watching international events, the Mouse is typically not that bad in lane like he did against the Brazilian teams. He's actually shown a lot of champion pool, a lot of resilience in the top lane this split. This is probably the second time I remember him being beaten down so heavily this split.
Yeah, for sure. Mouse domestically, very different beast. Karsa looking towards this dragon right here with Ming and Uzi in tow. Doesn't seem like anyone from Rogue Warriors in a position really to rotate towards this one, so this should be a free pickup for Real Never Give Up. Looking towards SMLZ, moving back towards middle lane. It seems like Kahlua getting that shallow vision down, just trying to defend their jungle right now from the invade out from Xiaohu.
I think Rogue Warriors are running out of options right now. They just need to sit tight and scale towards the late game. They are running 3 very big damage dealers.
Xiaohu caught out, but maybe it's the other way around as Karsa comes in for air support, and Ming also following up. There's the ultimate out from Xiaohu, opens up some space, and that actually corners Flawless off to the side of the fight. Uzi, he's cornered his prey. He will be able to take him out. Look for the reset, jump over the wall, look for a second kill into Kahlua, which he finds. Another kill over to Karsa, and RNG will walk away.
And that was a 4v5 situation. If you look at Zatai right now, he's pushing unhindered in the top lane. RNG able to come up big, even though Xiaohu was the one that was caught first. They're able to turn a 4v5 in their favor and still profit in the top lane.
Winning across the board here, Clement. 5,000 gold lead to RNG, and Zatai stepping up to Mouse. He is so far ahead right here. Plus, he has the Executioner's calling, so in a 1v1, you'd expect the solid win, but Demonic Ascension being used, and Zatai will back away here momentarily. Bot lane also going to fall, so that's 4 towers now to RNG.
Yep, they've already opened up a 6k gold lead, excuse me, and things are not looking good for Rogue Warriors. In the top lane, Mouse is having to go up against Zatai that already has Executioner's calling. That means that he has to wait for a very long time to actually detonate his ultimate, so his damage trades in the solo lane are going to be significantly hampered.
And this is the strengths we were talking from RNG. You know, as much as we talk about their weaknesses and how they're being exploited recently, if RNG win through laning phase, they will continue to snowball. They'll manage to outplay in those skirmishes. They'll be in the right place at the right time and continue to bully you down, not really give you a chance to get into those team fights, which is what Rogue Warriors will really want to try and do in this game. But their carries just need more time to scale up, and RNG are not giving it to them.
Yeah, the key word for RNG's composition right here is initiative. They have so much engage power. They're always going to be the one that decides the fights. They can get to fights faster as well. And the second big point is that they picked a lane that can finally beat someone up. A lot of times RNG have this drafting problem where even when on the red side, they pick a lot of losing lanes and they have a very sluggish early game. They can't find action, can't find momentum, but this game they had a very clear focus in going top lane and punishing Mouse out. So they are looking like the RNG of old. The RNG that can have those eccentric moments, can fight whenever on the map.
Looking towards the gold differences, that's a massive differential in the top lane. 2,500 gold advantage to Zatai over Mouse right here. That's culminated in an Executioner's calling. He's also got bits and bobs of different items, but he's also picked up the Trinity Force. So in terms of raw combat stats, he was so incredibly strong and turns into that split pusher that RNG really wants. And here comes the dive because Xiaohu comes in. The combo that is inescapable for Mouse. And he gets blown up by the winds of war.
Can I call that play the Mouse trap? Okay, the Chinese audience wasn't laughing at me.
I had Frost laugh. You got at least one laugh in the English broadcast. Karsa setting up in the mid lane, moving towards SMLZ, finds the knocker, wants to chain this towards the team, but the great disengage coming in from SMLZ. Here comes the kidnap, drags in the support here, and down goes Kahlua. Doinby trying to turn this one around. Good pillar coming out from Flawless, but he was going toe-to-toe with Uzi, and RNG looking for the disengage.
And look at Zatai again, still finding room to chip down on these towers. RNG are moving so fast that Rogue Warriors cannot react. They don't have the time to coordinate the defenses, and RNG are getting away with it.
Another tower in the bottom lane. Zatai is completely unstoppable in this bottom lane, getting all the support from his team that he needs to crack that bottom lane, to crack the side lanes, and be that constant pressure. RNG looking to probably back off to base now. Got a lot of gold in tow. They see triple items now picked up by Uzi.
And pretty much this is the second test for RNG in this series. We have seen them have very good early games, but they've had very sluggish mid games. And against Rogue Warriors composition, they will want to close out early. This comp has triple damage threats, and they're also running Trundle. Against a team that only has one big tank in Zac, Trundle is going to be incredibly effective. It's going to make their front line look like paper. So if it comes to late game team fights, Rogue Warriors still has a chance. RNG, you have to close this out cleanly and fast.
Yeah, surgically really from RNG, and we know they're very much a brute force team. I don't think elegance is necessarily a word that we would associate with RNG, but brute force, absolutely, and they do that one punch very strong. Here comes Uzi into the top lane just to try and get even more farm over to this AD carry. He's still very far ahead, and this one will be hitting like a truck when we get into these fights. And so far, we've only mostly seen skirmishes because RNG really been hitting so hard in the early game, and Rogue Warriors unable to really group up.
The question now is how is Mouse going to match up to Zatai in the split pushing, because he's going to be pushed right up to his high ground inhibitor tower while Zatai can roam the rest of the map. So even when Rogue Warriors are on the top side trying to set up vision, they constantly need to be aware of Camille flying in from the flanks, and this is going to be a very dangerous situation. They need to figure out a way to ward the potential path from Zatai to help his team.
Looking to try and open up those paths. Zatai, though, is still pushing up in the bottom lane. He's got a bit of vision on his flank, but no one really to help him. Xiaohu will have to rotate just a little so he can land that ultimate, but Doinby and Mouse not really feeling it in that 2 versus 2, so they won't look towards the pressure. Mouse is just trying to really hold Zatai now at that inhibitor tower and prevent him from pushing into the base. That's essentially his one job.
That was a bit unfortunate, but we did see Doinby place a control ward to try to spot Zatai when he left the bot lane. However, Zatai walking over the ward like a diligent top laner does take the control ward out.
Zatai chunked Mouse. That was just 2 abilities, and he's down to half. Here comes the Mouse trap once again. This time, he's able to perhaps squeak away. No, just kidding. Mouse is going to go down. Another kill over to Zatai.
And they can even take this inhibitor tower. They're forcing a rotation out from Rogue Warriors.
Doinby rotating actually outside of the base. We'll be able to clear this minion wave away, but that tower on its last legs, and that was people rotating into the bottom lane, so RNG, they take the opportunity to push in the mid.
Yep, I guess hashtag ban Swain doesn't really work in the LPL right here. We could see Mouse. He probably had a vision of game 2 right now. Didn't see much. And Galio able to snipe him underneath his own tower.
Now, one of the first times we're actually seeing Swain fall victim to a team at all, really, when it's been left open for blue side to pick. It's usually first picked, and then Swain's one of those reasons why they end up winning that game. But RNG have managed to shut him down in the early game. He hasn't really managed to do anything.
And we do have to mention, this is the reason that we've seen Swain being placed in the mid lane a bit more frequently in terms of the LCK, because the shorter lane does provide a lot more protection for the pick, and you can also combo him with the Trundle against other mid laners. In the top lane, however, there are those situations where if Swain falls behind, he falls very, very far behind.
Doesn't happen all that often in the LPL, though, so that's why pretty much every top laner will just pick up the Swain in the top lane. You're absolutely right, though, in terms of being actually more safe in the mid lane. That's not been the LPL style so far. There is a minion wave mounting in the bottom lane, and actually right now Zatai is just waiting in the shadows before moving to the bottom lane. Rogue Warriors actually kind of open right now. They have to send Mouse back down. He's back on split push duty, facing down Zatai. It's not particularly a fun job, but one that has to be done here for the team. And the rest of Rogue Warriors are pushing up, trying to get some vision over Baron.
It's hilarious how much RNG is anti-healing. If you look at the mid lane, Morello Nomicon, double executioners as well. And they just don't want to let Vladimir or Swain have any fun. Like, a lot of their abilities are extremely hampered by this composition.
When you have the gold to spare, they're, what, 9,000 gold ahead right now of Rogue Warriors. So they have plenty of gold just to sink into an Executioner's calling him. I mean, if Rakan wanted to pick one up at this stage, he'd probably have the money for it. He's just been sinking into constant control wards.
Yeah, Rogue Warriors probably needs to call for a blood drive right here, because they're not going to get any donations.
Absolutely are not. Not going to get it from themselves, that's for sure. Doinby stepping up. He's about to see Carter in this brush, and Ming as well. That's a transfusion. He's pushing up and actually splitting apart RNG. That's a nice slow down to Xiaohu, committing all the resources, but a flash forwards, a triple taunt coming in. Where's the down threats from RNG? One's in bottom lane. Here comes Uzi into the fight though. Joinby, he's pushing forwards into the team. And Xiaohu, he's dead before he can ult. And RNG are slowly starting to get ripped apart here. Carter needs to back away. Uzi doesn't have the protection. Zatai teleporting in from the bottom lane. Can he make the work happen? He can't approach right now. RNG get routed out of the fight. Massive turnaround win for RW, and they move towards the Baron.
And Roguers are able to take down the Baron, 8k down, win the fight as well. That was a moment of disconnect between RNG team members and Uzi. Uzi was pushing the mid lane, however RNG was still trying to hold the ground around Baron. A very weird call, and just it looks like there's something going wrong with the communication, probably a lapse of judgment at that crucial moment, but that should not have happened for RNG.
A huge swing here for Rogue Warriors, and at the very least, it's going to buy them time. Even if they can't push up with this Baron buff, it's time for the Swain, time for the Vladimir and the Xayah just to get bigger and bigger, maybe look for another fight. But this was after a catch on to Xiaohu, and when he lands a massive taunt as well.
Yeah, this was disconnect from the mid lane. Look at where Uzi was starting his path towards the fight. He was actually starting and clearing the minion wave. RNG should not have tried to hold their position at this moment right here, and it cost them quite dearly. Rogue Warriors all funneling in 4 members here. They get the drop onto Galio and pretty much take Xiaohu down early and clean up the fight.
Yeah, RNG walking in one by one, and I love the fact that this game has showcased the strengths and weaknesses of both teams. We were talking about RNG and their fight setups, and that was one of them right there, getting caught off guard by Rogue Warriors, who, in their own form, are exceptionally strong at those team fights and looking to open them up.
Yeah, RNG have not been a team that is very meticulous with how they fight around Baron. They tend to just walk into the opponent or try to do catches. Their fighting style is very different from that of someone like EDG, who you know is camping some of those brushes around Baron. RNG, they're not about that style, and a lot of times that lapse of setup really does cost them.
We saw it right there as well. Zatai is still going to resume position in the bottom lane, has managed to hit triple items now. Sterex, Ravenous Hydra, and the Trinity Force, plus the Execution is calling for good measure into this Swain in the bottom lane, but it's slightly harder for him to really push hard into the bottom lane now with a lack of vision, because Rogue Warriors, they can rotate quickly, and they are pushing out these lanes themselves.
Yep, the Baron buff is also going to cut out Zatai's 4-1 split push. He can't really split push against the empowered minions, and you can also see the roaming potential that Rogue Warrior has after pushing the mid lane. Zatai basically had to sit in a brush for 20 to 30 seconds just to make sure that Rogue Warrior's members have already shown up elsewhere on the map.
And this is RNG still with an 8,000 gold lead, but Rogue Warriors rather, first time they're able to really push out of their base and push up into the mid lane. Here comes Zatai once again. He's looking towards the tower, but Mouse wants to clear this one away. Well, that was a lot of damage with the tactical precision there. Precision protocol, rather. Mouse is chasing down Zatai, and he's got the team in tow. Here comes Kahlua. Can he land that Winter's Bite? Doesn't have the flash. That's going to be a no on that one, and Zatai will get away.
I'm actually quite impressed by that estimation for Zatai. He actually went in and only landed 1 auto attack, knew that he had to step away, and was still able to get out. So even though that looked quite risky, it was pretty well done on Zatai's part.
Because if he does that one more time, the tower's simply dead.
Yeah, 1 more auto attack, and like the restraint to hold that in, to not go like, I just want this tower, it's quite impressive.
Sure, we have a lot of split pushers in the LPL, all with their own unique personalities, whether they just push up and never stop pushing.
Oh yeah, GameCube would have died there.
Yeah, he definitely would have just carried on going. But Zatai, yeah, showing some restraint here. That's going to be really good for RNG if they can open up this bottom lane. Going to be a very important inhibitor as well if this game continues to revolve around that Baron. RNG still with those 2 dragons, however, and the next one will be spawning soon. It is another Ocean Dragon in this one, and the next one will be an Elder Dragon.
Probably not something anyone really wants to fight over right now, but RNG could use this Drake to set up a trap if Rogue Warriors really considers it. I don't think Rogue Warriors is really going to contest an Ocean Drake, but RNG could try to set something up here, try to surprise them.
4,000 gold lead between Zatai and Mouse in that 1v1. In the bottom lane, 2,000 advantage over to Uzi as well. So the carries, they're definitely strong from RNG, but this last 3-4 minutes, they've been stymied out, all because of that Baron play. Rogue Warriors, they've been given precious time.
And you really have to wonder who's controlling Uzi in those moments. Who's the one that's going to tell Uzi, hey man, don't push that wave. We need you at the Baron Pit right now. We're setting up a gank. So it just does look like RNG, they never really fine-tuned their shot calling. And that's always something that I want to see they improve because they are one of our premier teams in the LPL.
Absolutely. If they want to overtake some of the strongest teams that we've seen so far in the league, including Invictus Gaming and Rogue Warriors, in fact, then they'll have to clean up the rest of their act. Karsa just looking towards Rogue Warriors as they move out into their jungle, at least the shallow part of it. So Tice is going to see Mouse come in here. And Rogue Warriors, they would really like a pick, but very difficult to lock down this slippery Camille.
Yep, and RNG still waiting around the jungle, but what they don't know was that they were sitting on a ward for the majority of that time. They finally cleared it out. And are going to go back to setting up traps and bushes.
You can just see how far RNG have been really stopped in their onslaught. They're just hovering around. Both teams really just looking for a pick or a nice way into a fight. And Rogue Warriors are actually sending everyone down to the bottom lane to tie. Will hook shot to safety though. Meanwhile on the top side, RNG were thinking about a collapse, but Doinby is now just challenging this red buff with the rest of his team. And it's just scraps right now. Baron will be spawning in 90 seconds. That's most likely going to be the catalyst for a fight here. RNG doing what they can. That was a big crit from Uzi, so Uzi just showing what he's made of.
Oh yeah, he's definitely almost full build. I expect the Quicksilver Satch later on. And if you look at both team compositions, they have a lot of initiation and not a lot of tanks. So whoever gets the first move should be able to clean up the fight. And that's why we're seeing a lot of very cautious movement around the jungle. Both teams are aware that whoever gets the first jump on the catch will probably win.
I've got to play this one careful for sure. Because right now, everyone's been farming so hard. You've got 460 farm at 35 minutes for Uzi. Everyone's just been farming for Storm in this game. Both carries on the side of Rogue Warriors, excluding the Swain. 400 farm apiece. Zatai is just about to flame Horizon Mouse, in fact. So there has been so many minions dying in this game. There have been those massive lulls in actions where the teams just have to play cautious. Because of that, you can see 4 items, 5 items on a lot of these carries from both teams.
Yep, and RNG still have the lead so far. And in terms of Tristana, she will have the range advantage. Interesting that Tristana, Uzi, very confident in his own abilities, is actually going to go for the Bloodthirster. I typically don't like the Bloodthirster build. I would much rather have the ability to cleanse from CC.
There are some AD carriers in the league, though, I think you can give a free pass to. I think Uzi might be one of them in terms of raw mechanics. He hasn't died in this game yet, so you can definitely say he's at positioning.
I'll give it to him. And there isn't that much CC really coming from Rogue Warrior's side either. Only the Winter's Bite, which he probably needs to beware of. But other than that, he should be fine. For Rogue Warriors, the team fight is a bit more difficult to maneuver. They have the shorter range team composition. They do want the Swain and the Vladimir both in the back line, but that's going to be very hard to do. They have to go past a Galio and a Zac.
Finally, the bot tower is opened up here by Zatai, and at the same time, RNG have opened up on top of the Baron. There is a response here from Rogue Warriors, though, and actually turning onto this. They're going to try and burst it down here with Flawless and see if they can get the smite down, but he is completely by himself right now. RNG looking for the initiate onto the jungler. He's going to jump away, but he's going to die from this one. Ming is dead, however, and SMLZ, he's moving forwards alongside Kahlua. Meanwhile, the jungler is caught in the front lines, and Uzi has to kite away, taking critical damage. Xiaohu in a 1 versus 3. Uzi, can he come back here and assist me? But he can't step up to the team right now, and the door is up. Here comes Kahlua, and everyone being knocked back. Double kill out from Xiaohu. He pulls off the impossible, and Doinby, he needs to go back to base.
How did Xiaohu save that fight? With the last sliver of health, he manages to take
Uzi,
down both
he's found him. Doinby trying to run away with the Sanguine Pool, but Uzi, he's running him down, and he's delaying this from happening. And a teleport into top lane.
If they manage to catch here.
And he lands it. Last auto attack coming in from Uzi. Is that enough? Because Swain is alive. 2 carries left from RNG.
There's still 30 seconds on SMLZ's timer right here. They are going to look for a finish. There's only 1 defending member in Mouse.
It's going to be inhibitor down at the very least. Probably going to be triple inhibitors after this. We've got 2 seconds left on Florence. He's about to spawn. And RNG gained so much off of that fight, but it was down to the wire for both teams.
It looks so good for Rogue Warriors for such a long time. A great start from Flawless, blocking Karsa's ability to go in and look for the smite there. But unfortunately, the damage is able to force him away, and nobody actually touches Baron.
It was very awkward as well for Rogue Warriors. Flawless went up to the Baron. He was like, let's burst it, guys. But then RNG pushed forwards. He's trapped in the pit by himself. The rest of the team couldn't really move towards him. And RNG, after all of that, win the fight, move towards the base, take out triple inhibitors, move towards the Baron, take that one as well, as we get to see that fight once again.
Yeah, that was a great traffic killer right there, stopping Karsa and his attempts to steal the Baron, but he does take too much damage on the fight. Ming goes in, gets in, but is taken down rather early. And you can see Trundle with his ultimate, it takes down tanks so easily. This is a 3v2 scenario right here, and I want to see how Xiaohu managed to pick up that many kills. He's coming out of Zhonya's with only 500 HP, gets the knock up into the taunt and into the Q as well. Still falls down, but that was a massive hero play from Xiaohu to save the game.
And you say 2v3, but honestly, for most of that, Clement, it was a 1 versus 3. Xiaohu was buying time for Uzi to get his health back, and it looked like he was going to get run down, but RNG, with the outplay in the moment, they overpower, they overwhelm with the players that they have on this team. And that's the power sometimes.
Yeah. Watching that play gave me so many chills. Just the execution, the timing, and the comboing of his last abilities to take SMLZ out of the air and secure the game for RNG. Like, of course, they haven't won yet, but at least secure the Baron for RNG.
And they are pretty close, though. That was probably the final nail in the coffin here for Rogue Warriors. Ming just pushing in these minions with Uzi, staying by his AD carry side at all times. And Rogue Warriors, honestly, they need a miracle right here. They need the fight of the century, because they're essentially fighting 5 versus 6 here as the minions are coming in, being that 6th member. Uzi's able to step up, look for these rapid-fire cannon crits and the poke and harass down onto Rogue Warriors before this fight initiates.
RNG do have the range advantage. Rogue Warriors need to come out and take the fight themselves.
And here's the engage out from Xiaohu. He comes down and Uzi is starting to reset. Flawless is into the backline. He goes down and Uzi is pushing forwards. He sees Kalura in his sights and Xiaohu, he's here to bodyguard for his AD carry. SMLZ is pushed to the base and RNG, they've won this. They're going to dive for the fountain right here. They want more kills and rub their face into the dirt. They overpower, they overwhelm and take game 1.
Congratulations to RNG right there, and they're forcing Rogue Warriors to look at a 3-game losing streak. This is definitely going to be our man of the match, Zatai in the top lane, etching out a 40 CS advantage before 15 minutes and really snowballing the entire game for them.
It's actually pretty difficult to pick an MVP from this game because yes, Zatai did exceptionally well, but then there was the hero play coming in from Xiaohu at the same time, so...
Yeah, Xiaohu might be the little tiger, but he has a big lion's heart right there. Able to come up in those clutch moments.
And RNG will take game 1 here. Rogue Warriors have to come back and see if they can find something else heading into the second game. Maybe adapt, maybe move back to what has been working for them. Really put all their resources on SMLZ. Obviously, it's risky coming into RNG right here with Uzi in the bottom lane, but in this game, definitely didn't work out, though it was a long one, 40 minutes between these two teams.
Yeah, I do have to say, I don't think RNG is going to be very happy about this game. It did come down to 2 very close team fights between Rogue Warriors. When they had an 8,000 gold advantage, they should have been able to play the 4-1 cleanly and choke out the enemy team. However, they gave so many chances to Rogue Warriors, and a lot of it is the disconnect between Uzi and the rest of the team. While he's clearing waves, the team is still trying to hold their position, and Rogue Warriors are calling them out on that. They know they can't force the situation, and this is a bit disappointing from RNG. I do expect them to play clean games and have that ability to close out.
Yeah, and really both teams were just playing to their strengths in this one because, of course, you're looking for the outplay potential when you're RNG, but Rogue Warriors, if they find a setup, if they find someone out of position from RNG who just put themselves out of position, you know, they can go for those fights that we saw around the Baron, wade their way back into the game in basically Rogue Warriors fashion. So we really can see this one going to 3 here, Clement.
Oh, it definitely can, but I know in Game 2 and Game 3, there's probably not going to be a Swain top lane anymore for Rogue Warriors because that pick is way too easy to gank for, and you can see Rogue Warriors are not accustomed to protecting Mouths this split.
Yeah, Mouse has really just been the punching bag in the top lane. For now, though, we are going to send it back to the analyst desk to take a look at Game 1.
Thank you, guys. It was an action-packed match, and it was a little bit back and forth between the two teams. We have to go back to the draft phase because we get to see a Trundle in the jungle, something that's very popular in Europe. Swain was being flexed by Rogue Warriors, eventually thrown into the top lane, and very unique playstyles from the two teams.
Yeah, and ultimately, when we first saw the first few picks, you know, the Xayah into the Zac and the Rakan, and then Swain comes through on second rotation blue side, Rusty and I looked at each other and were like, what the hell are RNG thinking? How could they give away a pick like Swain that strong? And it goes to show that Zatai, one of our first Swain players in the LPL, knows the matchup inside and out. They understood where they needed to apply pressure, and they were able to crack that.
And he's able to do that with a team composition in mind as well. Of course, the draft on your screen. The Galio being the other part of that composition that I'm sure you'll see more of in the future, but we're not just going to jump into it. There's also the Rogue Warriors draft, and I still think that Swain's the correct choice. I still ultimately believe that they should have gone towards that. I think they just put the Swain top lane because they saw the matchups. And they're like, okay, it's probably better to pick Swain into Camille than it is the Vladimir, because you don't want to have this awkward mid lane mismatch up as well. So here they are. That's the lanes that they pick for themselves. Trundle is the other place that we have to look at first in the jungle. I actually think that the Trundle pick was genius in this instance, and I am one of the biggest Trundle jungle critics in the world. I've watched enough EULCS to know that I don't like it. But I liked it here because it's good into the Zac. It can cancel the jumps, and it can cancel a lot of things, and it can work with the Swain in tandem with the crowd control and the pullback.
I've also been told that it works well with Aftershock as well, taking away the extra resistances that those tanks get in the jungle, which RNG are running 2 of. Now, on top of that, before we went into game number 1, we talked about the Lovers duo in the bottom lane for RNG, which it was missing. This game, they took that pick away from the Xayah Rakan lane and made sure that when the first pick Xayah was picked up by Rogue Warriors, they took Rakan straight away.
Which is why initially when I was looking at Rogue Warriors draft, the fact that they banned Varus, Caitlyn, and then Tahm Kench priority pick the Xayah, I'm like, this is actually a genius strategy because it forces the Rakan, which means they can't just grab 2 power picks here. They have to deny power from Rogue Warriors. And we know that while Ming can probably play Rakan, he just showcased it in that game, he doesn't have a lot of experience on it because Uzi doesn't play Xayah. But having a Tristana Rakan lane, so much safety. How are you ever going to crack that? And what's beautiful then is it freed up Karsa on the jungle where he never had to visit bot lane because Tristana's just going to hop away, Rakan can tag onto her, you can never engage onto that duo lane, there's 0 kill pressure there, so even though you gave away the Xayah as a priority pick, she loses a lot of her influence over the map, and they just focus fired in on Camille.
And they got to pick up a lot of picks with RNG, especially with the bouncy castle they were able to set up with not only Zac and Rakan, but even Galio and Camille thrown to mix, and there was play after play just being made by RNG.
Yeah, this is one of the scariest combos you'll ever see, and this doesn't even include the Camille, so it's not just an arena. Doing B, no chance to use a single spell, could not get out alive, and this is the other part of the combo. Xiaohu, just for good measure. It doesn't get any better from that position because we just saw it happen mid, we just saw it happen top lane, now everyone's fed.
But I do want to point out on your mini-map right now. So Clement talked about it in the cast a little bit, and I do agree with him. I feel like the desync of why RNG stalled out that game was Uzi not syncing with what Karsa wanted to do. I agree that it shouldn't have been a 1-4, it should have been a 2-3, which a lot of teams can't run. But they needed to continue to apply pressure to the Swain with the Zhonya's Hourglass by utilizing the Galio Camille dive, because Camille cannot 1v1 there, and you can just 2-man a Baron with Zac and Tristana. But instead, Uzi was constantly clearing waves, he was never on the correct rotation, it opened up these doorways for Rogue Warriors to start making picks.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you have to hit the most. 2-3 is only successful in this instance because it is a Zonies and the Camille is super fed as well. You can 1v1, we'll still have control in the 1v1, but can't kill. Struggled to take the turret, took 5 extra minutes than perhaps it should have, and that's because during that time, instead of going for the 2-3, they tried to fight around the Baron and went for a 4-1.
And it got to a point where Mouse could actually control that. And those fights, the first one went in Rogue Warriors' favor. We thought the second one would too. But let's first take a look at that first Baron fight where Rogue Warriors were able to pick up the win.
And this is a Zeke's Herald just absolutely obliterating Galio here.
Yeah, Trundle, of course, having the Zeke's Herald. SMLZ is about to hit a crit, and you could not believe that. You're so used to seeing Galio as a tank champion. That's a full AP Galio. But it was also Zeke's having the Fire and Ice connector W ready for an SMLZ there on the... and a crit, rather, for the Xayah as well. So that's maximum amount of possible damage. Destroyed them in that fight.
And again, shout out to the EULCS. Thanks for bringing that one over to the LPL. Cost efficiency on that item, and you can see right there what it can really do.
And that was the first Baron fight, which Rogue Warriors won. They were trying to get back into the match. They went for a second Baron fight, which once again looked so good for Rogue Warriors. But RNG just showing their star power, especially with Xiaohu and Uzi able to clean up the fight and bring home the victory.
But the thing is that RNG really shouldn't have been put in this position in the first place. This is them getting caught out. But we said at the very beginning of the day, Fish, that because of RNG's star-studded roster, Xiaohu, Uzi, these type of players, they will just give you miracles. And this is Xiaohu and Uzi giving that exactly. Now, yes, SMLZ does mess up. Rusty, you pointed out. He steps forward, the Zhonya's comes out, he's immediately taunted, he wanted to get the kill on Uzi, and is immediately punished for it.
Now, the thing is, he was so close to actually getting an outplay. He wanted to flash over the Galio to kill Uzi, but because Galio dash jumps backwards before he dashes forwards, still hits the knock-up instantly and actually dies from it. That was a small detail away from potentially winning 2 consecutive fights at the Baron, and maybe actually winning the game. That's how close they were from 8,000 gold behind.
But ultimately, I don't even think that RNG should ever take those 5v5s in the first place. We always say this about RNG. They're the only team in the LPL that can actually play side lanes. 1-3-1. In this case, it was kind of a 3-2 kind of scenario that they were playing. But against Rogue Warriors, who only play 5v5, who only protect their ADC. Yes, RNG can do that with Uzi, but I think RNG are the perfect team to dismantle Rogue Warriors because they'll never let them group, or they should never let them group.
And it feels like RNG are going to keep playing that playstyle where they split apart the map, make sure that Rogue Warriors can't group up for those fights. So what do Rogue Warriors need to change moving into the next match to make sure they can get those big 5v5 fights against RNG?
Their top laner, and unfortunately they don't really have an answer for it. I think Shin might be a deep pick that Mouse looks for to try to get him out of these holes, but right now if he gets a power pick like Swain and he just gets absolutely dumpstered up there, something has got to give.
And I don't think you need to ban all of the AD carries if you're going to first pick the Xayah for yourself. You don't know that Uzi's going to be playing that one in particular. So yeah, you may actually put more priority in the draft phase towards your top laner and getting a better matchup instead of trying too hard to flex both roles.
Well, SMLZ is known as the carry for Rogue Warriors, but all eyes will be on Mouse to see how he can impact the rest of the matches against RNG. Although Rogue Warriors of what we're talking about, what they can change, what they can fix, we still have to highlight RNG because Xiaohu picked up MVP in that match, rightfully so after the last few plays he had.
After Clement went through so much to set up Zatai, it's the hero miracle save from Xiao, and I had to agree, like, when you're that flashy, it does matter.
He was just too good. He was everywhere on the Rift, and look, Zatai played his part. He roamed a surprisingly large amount, but for the most part, this guy was doing all of the heavy lifting.
And what's actually really interesting is if you look at Xiaohu's stats at the beginning of the split, he actually had the lowest kill participation of any mid laner in the league. Like, we talk about their ability to play side lane, so that kind of makes sense, but RNG had been struggling because they had been unable to unlock and utilize Xiaohu, and now you see the difference and what type of game it means when he's finally with the team.
Little Tiger is out of his cage and he's on the loose, running rampage over Rogue Warriors in game number 1. We're going to go to a quick break. We're back with game number 2 in just a bit.